If she starts giving you peace instead of presence, she's already leaving emotionally. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Not with a breakup speech. She just becomes softer. Quieter. Less reactive. Less invested. You notice it in small ways first. She used to double text. Now she takes hours. She used to argue when something bothered her. Now she says, "It's fine." She used to want to know where this was going. Now she avoids the conversation completely. And you tell yourself she's just busy. Stressed. Moody. Hormonal. Going through something. But deep down, you feel it. The energy shifted. You're still emotionally in it. She's slowly stepping out. This is how emotional detachment usually happens. Not with chaos. With calm. When someone begins detaching, they don't fight for connection anymore. They stop trying to repair. They stop reacting. Because reacting means you still care. Silence is not always peace. Sometimes it's resignation. Psychologically, when a woman starts emotionally detaching, it often means one of two things. Either she has felt unheard for too long, or she has emotionally redirected her investment somewhere else. Attachment doesn't disappear randomly. It erodes. If she has an anxious attachment style, she may have chased you first. Asked for reassurance. Sought clarity. Needed emotional closeness. But if that need repeatedly felt dismissed, minimized, or mocked, her nervous system eventually protects itself. It stops reaching. That protection looks like independence. But it's actually emotional withdrawal. If she has avoidant tendencies, detachment is even more subtle. She may convince herself she doesn't need depth. She may downplay feelings. She may start focusing more on work, friends, gym, anything that doesn't require vulnerability. Either way, the core mechanism is the same. Her brain is reducing emotional risk. Here's the part people don't want to hear. Most emotional detachment doesn't start the day she pulls away. It starts the day she feels emotionally unsafe. Unsafe doesn't mean abusive. It means unseen. Maybe she tried to communicate something and felt dismissed. Maybe she felt you stopped leading emotionally. Maybe she sensed inconsistency. Maybe she felt like an option. When emotional safety drops, attraction slowly follows. Because attraction isn't just about looks or chemistry. It's about emotional security mixed with uncertainty. Too much comfort with no direction kills desire. Too much unpredictability kills trust. And many men make the same mistake. They notice her pulling away, and they start chasing harder. More texts. More explanations. More promises. More emotional intensity. But chasing someone who is detaching doesn't rebuild attraction. It confirms the power imbalance. When she feels you trying to get her back, she unconsciously feels more distance. Not because she's evil, but because human psychology responds to perceived value and stability. When someone senses you're afraid to lose them, they feel less afraid of losing you. That shift is deadly. Now let's flip the mirror. Women detach when they feel emotionally alone inside a relationship. Men detach when they feel unappreciated or pressured. Different triggers. Same outcome. Men often process emotional conflict through problem solving or distraction. Women process through emotional engagement. If engagement fails repeatedly, they shut down. And once a woman shuts down emotionally, it's rarely sudden. It's the result of internal debates you were never invited to. She argued with herself about you before she stopped arguing with you. She justified your behavior before she withdrew from it. She hoped you would notice before she stopped expecting you to. By the time you feel the coldness, she has already grieved the relationship privately. That's why when you finally panic and ask, "Are you losing feelings?" she says, "I don't know." She knows. But she also knows explaining it won't change what she already felt for months. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes she's detaching because she matured faster than the relationship did. Sometimes you got comfortable while she was still evaluating. Sometimes she was giving you girlfriend-level emotional depth while receiving casual-level effort. And sometimes, you ignored small signs because your ego assumed she would never leave. Detachment often begins where complacency grows. Now understand this carefully. Detachment is not always manipulation. It's not always another guy. It's not always revenge. Sometimes it's exhaustion. Emotional burnout. When someone keeps lowering their expectations to stay, eventually they stop expecting anything at all. And that's when the relationship becomes polite instead of passionate. Conversations become logistical. Intimacy becomes routine. Eye contact becomes shorter. You feel it, but you can't prove it. That's because emotional detachment doesn't create drama. It removes it. And here's where you need to be brutally honest with yourself. Did you stop dating her after you got her? Did you stop leading emotionally? Did you become reactive instead of grounded? Did you start loving her from fear instead of strength? Because when you love from fear, you cling. When you cling, you signal scarcity. And scarcity reduces perceived value in attraction dynamics. Now let's be clear. This isn't about playing games. It's about emotional positioning. Healthy relationships require polarity and respect. Not control. Not dominance. Not emotional begging. When she senses that your mood depends entirely on her attention, she feels pressure, not desire. When she senses that you are emotionally stable with or without her validation, she feels safety and intrigue. The shift in perspective is this. Her detachment is not always a betrayal. It's feedback. Painful feedback. It tells you something broke long before you admitted it. Maybe communication was surface level. Maybe boundaries were weak. Maybe you tolerated mixed signals because you feared losing her. But here's the freeing part. If someone is emotionally detaching, you cannot re-attract them by overgiving. You rebuild attraction by regaining self-respect. That means slowing down instead of speeding up. Observing instead of interrogating. Improving your own emotional regulation instead of demanding reassurance. It means being willing to lose someone who is slowly choosing to leave. And that's the part most people avoid. They fight for someone who already emotionally exited. Not because the connection was perfect, but because their ego can't handle rejection. If she's detaching, the worst move is panic. The strongest move is composure. Not coldness. Not manipulation. Composure. You focus on your mission. Your health. Your discipline. Your friendships. Your emotional stability. Not to make her jealous, but to become someone who doesn't collapse when attention shifts. Because here's the truth. The moment you stop trying to force connection, you see clearly whether it still exists. And if it doesn't, that clarity is worth more than false hope. Emotional detachment is painful. But it's also revealing. It shows you where you overinvested. Where you ignored red flags. Where you loved without boundaries. And sometimes, it shows you that you were holding on to potential, not reality. If she's slowly fading, don't chase the shadow of who she used to be. Watch her actions. Accept the information. And respond with dignity. Because sometimes the relationship doesn't end when she leaves. It ends when you finally see the truth you kept avoiding. And the real loss isn't her. It's the self-respect you delayed protecting. The moment you accept her silence without chasing it is the moment you stop losing yourself.